Welcome to the MTG Sold podcast. This is the week of May 11th to the 17th. This week's headline is Secrets of Strixhaven dominates the market in its post-release normalization window, compressing prices from across the set while commander decks from Bloomburrow, Modern Horizons 3, and Duskmourn gain ground on tightening supply. Outside of Strixhaven, the premium Universes Beyond products held their ground. Final Fantasy Collector Boosters displays moved 28 units at a volume weighted average price of $1,082.53, and the Hobbit Collector Booster display cleared 35 units at $791.53. Standard set products like Edge of Eternity's Play Booster displays, which did about $21,239 across 167 units, and the Lore and Eclipse Play Booster displays, which did about $16,475 across 153 units, also contributed steady mid-table revenue. Thursday was the busiest day at around 1,169 units and 129,578 in revenue, with a clean ramp from Sunday's 716 units through the Thursday peak before easing into the weekend. Taking a look at our top gainers of the week, we have Edge of Eternity's Commander Deck Counterintelligence, which did $1,191 in weekly revenue. Up next, we have the Bloomburrow Commander Deck Peace Offering. That did about $2,788 in weekly revenue. Next up, we have the Lore and Eclipse Commander Deck Blight Curse. That did around $962 in weekly revenue. Next up on the top gainers, we have the Modern Horizons 3 Commander Deck Eldrazi Incursion. That did around $3,484 in weekly revenue. Next, we have the Lore and Eclipse Commander Deck Dance of Elements. That did $775 in weekly revenue. And last up, we have a new contender. We have the Duskmourn House of Horror Commander Deck Endless Punishment. That did $4,803 in weekly revenue. In terms of the top decliners, this week is no surprise. It's pretty much all of the Strixhaven products, mainly the commander decks and the bundles. That's kind of just expected based on post-release, post-launch windows. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. It's just all of the Strixhaven products. It's kind of expected, and I can kind of consider it noise. We'll wait for it to normalize more outside of its post-release window. Looking at the supply velocity read-through, so we do know that the supply this week was pretty much shaped by the Strixhaven launch wave. Seller counts and listing quantities jumped sharply across every Strixhaven product. The Codex bundle saw sellers more than double from 13.2 to 33.4, while Silver Commander decks picked up 40 to 60% more listings. Despite the flood, sell-through ratios on the highest demand Strixhaven products stayed pretty well, above 1.0. Again, so 0 is neutral, 1 is positive, -1 would be negative. So in this case, it was 1.0, meaning the market absorbed new inventory faster than it appeared. The Codex bundle was around 3.63, again, 1 being neutral. So this is a 3.63 ratio on sell-through. It's the highest one on the board this week. So while supply is increasing for the Codex bundle, it's a really beloved product. Demand is there. So outside of Strixhaven, though, the picture is mixed. Bloomburrow Commander Deck Peace Offering, it stands out the biggest with a genuine supply crunch. Average quantity dropped 39.59%, while sellers fell around 29%, pushing sell-through to 1.28. Again, 1 being neutral, or 1 being positive, 0 being neutral. We're seeing a sell-through rate ratio of 1.28 on the Peace Offering deck. And another commander deck, the Duskmourn Commander Deck Endless Punishment, it also showed meaningful supply contraction, with both quantity and sellers declining around 20%. On the other hand, though, the Lore and Eclipse Commander decks, there are slowly building inventory without really strong enough demand to tighten the supply. Both Blight Curse and Dance of Element sit above 280 average quantity, with a sell-through ratio of 0.13. Again, 1 being positive, 0 being neutral, -1 being negative. This is sitting at a ratio of 0.13, which is not that good. Jumping into our opinionated takeaways section, this is where we kind of just give our opinions on what we are noticing in the market. This is not investment advice. The Strixhaven price correction is healthy. It's not a crash. Every Strixhaven product on the decline list is dropping from what looks like a thin early post-release baseline. The Codex bundle's prior volume-weighted average price of $180.49, it was really never a sustainable market price once sellers tripled and inventory doubled. At $115, with the sell-through above 3.6, the product is finding real equilibrium with strong demand underneath. I'd expect further settling over the next week or two, but the velocity signals are encouraging, not alarming. Again, great assault. This is post-release normalization, not investment advice. Uh, Two, on the takeaways, the Bloomburrow peace offering is the real supply story. While Strixhaven dominated the headlines, the most interesting supply dynamic belongs to peace offering. Inventory dropped nearly 40%. Sellers dropped 29%, and sell-through cleared 1.28. Again, the ratio is 0 is neutral, 1 is positive. This was a 1.28 on all on a product that's been on the market for months. At $73 volume weighted average price with a dwindling seller base, this has the supply profile of a product that could gap up if a restock doesn't arrive soon. Worth watching more closely than any of the Strixhaven noise. And our second to last takeaway, premium Universes Beyond Sealed products, they're operating in their own lane. Final Fantasy Collector Booster displays at a volume weighted average price of $1,000.82, and the Hobbit Collector Booster displays at $791.53 keep trading at levels that have nothing to do with standard Magic the Gathering sealed dynamics. These are low unit, high dollar markets, 28 and 35 units respectively, but remarkable stable in a week where everything else was repricing. If you're tracking sealed product as an asset class, the Universes Beyond collector tier appears increasingly decoupled from the broader market cycle. And our last takeaway of the week, revenue is down 17% on flat units, means that the market get cheaper, not quieter. The week over week revenue drop from 901 to around approximately 749,000 looks alarming at first glance, but units only fell 2%. Buyers didn't leave, they just paid less per unit, mostly because the Strixhaven supply wave brought prices down across a high volume set. The near flat unit count at lower prices could actually signal increased accessibility for buyers who were priced out at pre-order levels. The real test comes next week. Do units tick up now that Strixhaven has found a more approachable price point? And now to finish this out, what to watch next week. We've highlighted three things that we are kind of keeping our eye on. So, Strixhaven price stabilization. The Codex bundle and the Commander decks are still working through their post-release supply wave. Watch whether the volume-weighted average price stabilizes or continues to decline as more inventory enters. A sell-through ratio staying above 1.0 on the Codex bundle would be a bullish signal that demand can continue absorbing the supply inflow. If sell-through drops below 1.0, expect another leg down in price. Second thing to watch, the Bloomburrow peace offering supply trajectory. With average quantity at 29.6 and sell-through above 1.28, this deck is on a path toward scarcity. If inventory continues contracting next week while price holds above $73, we could see the move accelerate. A restock wave would likely cap the upside, so watch seller counts closely for any signs of new supply entering. And lastly, the Duskmourn Endless Punishment follow-through. Sellers down 90%, inventory down 21%, and a 10% price gain this week with no data quality flags. The supply contraction is consistent and organic looking. If these trends hold, the deck could cross into sell-through above a sell-through ratio above 1.0. And in that territory, it would join peace offering as one of the tighter, older set commander products on the market. Anyways, thanks for listening. That's the weekly recap of May 11th to the 17th. Have a good one.